Alrighty, everybody, welcome to a video. Gonna be a quick solo tier list for Dungeonborne. Um, there's been a little bit of a meta shakeup. Looks like some things have come out into the spotlight and are starting to be abused. Not abused, but the community has been quick to notice what's strong. And so I'm just gonna do a quick tier list on what I think are the top solo classes. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's PB79. Just call me PB though. I was a rank like top 5 in the playtest before early access for Druid. I've been a pretty big fan of Dark and Darker, so I've been demigod there a couple times. But I've really found my jam with Dungeonborne, specifically on Druid. But ever since Druid got too popular, I've been expanding on other classes and kind of playing them, seeing what's up. And just wanted to kind of bring you guys my thoughts on what's really strong right now for solos, and what else can be used, and kind of where it all sits. To start off, I think we're just gonna go right ahead with good old Priest. It should come to no surprise that in solos, early mid gear, Priest is absolutely D tier. You can make Priest work in solos if you're willing to, get a 30 out of 30 fairy kit on him and and run around that way. But most classes will work better with that kit regardless. And I would say, if you're a solo Priest player, don't worry too much. The around 1% pick rate has kind of been made aware to the devs, and they're kind of looking at reworking Priest for solos, or at least trying to get that pick rate up in general. So hopefully that means that there's going to be some solo viability for Priest, and that we'll see this class start to shine. Moving on to the next class that we have, and I will say these will be in order, left being the best, right being worse in that tier. I think tentatively for now, and this might change as we kind of put this tier list together, I'm going to personally put Fighter in A tier. I think what's strong right now in the meta is Life on Hit. Fighter having access to Life on Hit, right? Also the dual swords to kind of have some extra effectiveness on the Life on Hit. Really shines for Fighter. The mobility being increased, you had the CDR buffs to it from 40 seconds to 30 seconds, really helped Fighter here out as well. Battle Cry doubles its effective healing, but a lot of Fighter, unlike another class that we'll talk about later that can also do the Life on Hit dual sword build, a lot of Fighter's damage can be blocked, and I would say there is a lot more counterplay to Fighter than there is the other classes. And so I think for now, Fighter is in a solid spot. I think you can play Fighter, especially in those early to mid tier kind of lobbies. But when it comes to those end high tier lobbies where players have gotten all the stats they need, I think you're going to start to see Fighter struggle. Because of that, I'm going to put Fighter in A tier. Really solid class still though, gets you aware of what the mechanics are for fighting, and just kind of lets you know, kind of gets your chops. So I think it would be a very solid class for people to start on until you get a handle of how to play Dungeonborne. The next class for us to rank is going to be Rogue, and I'm going to put Rogue in A tier above Fighter. I know the joke is really like, oh, Rogue is weak, buff Rogue. No, Rogue is extremely strong when Rogue plays its own game plan. I feel like a lot of people who come from Dark and Darker look at Rogue in this game and realize that you can't W key 2-shot somebody and then proceed to tell you that Rogue is weak. But Petrify is such a strong ability If you're willing to go dual sword instead of dagger rogue, which I think most people should, dual swords are very strong. The heavy attack dual sword will always guarantee a petrify, even if they block. That being said, you can then use that to run from most classes. And, you know, that cannot be understated in the meta. Like, it sucks that Rogue is put into this little rat positioning for early to mid game. But I would also say when it comes to late game, if you can hit those crossbow shots, you're a force to be reckoned with. I don't think there's many players who don't get frazzled at losing a third of their health per crossbow hit when you're stacking the poison, when you're stacking Tiny Torment, when potentially you're stacking Storm Rage. Yeah, I think Rogue is in a great spot. It's just kind of overshadowed by the top tiers right now that all have significant advantages over Rogue. But I think when they get toned down, a lot of people are going to start, more than already, because I think a solid percentage of my lobbies are either the top tiers or Rogues trying to rat. And I think once those top tiers get taken down a peg, you're going to see Rogues go up even more. The next on the list is Pyro, and I'm going to slide them in right here. I think Pyro is a very strong class. The nerfs that it got from the playtest to current day Pyro were not very big. I think that there's still some issues when you fight the top tiers, but when you fight any class under Pyro, or even Rogue, which I put slightly above just because it can run away better, when you fight any of the lower classes, it's very easy to out DPS them until they're just dead, and nothing they can really do to get near you. Yeah, I think this class is very strong, and it's very slept on, regardless of what map you're playing on. Early kit, mid kit, light kit, as long as you have mana pots to keep chugging and you successfully use them, it's going to be very hard for people to, get on you. The next class we're going to rank is going to be Druid. I would put Druid... You know, this is a hard one. I no longer think post nerf that Druid is very strong in solos. I think they got the skill floor was raised quite a bit, but I would not say that Druid outright wins any matchups anymore. I think the shock grenades no longer being cleansed was a very big crutch for a lot of noob Druids. And so this just really, you know, solidifies Druid players needing to know how to play the game and how to specifically get, you know, how to outplay certain classes. That said, I am going to put it at the top of the A tier at the moment. Druid really suffers from users who have the game knowledge to deal with the Druid. It does not have an Druid does not have an easy way to deal damage to shield users who understand how to fight a Druid. The DPS being lowered on Druid with leap cooldown, you know, hurts it two ways, not only with engaging and trying to deal as maximum amount of DPS damage to kill those tankier classes, but also running away. It's a lot harder for a Druid to dive a shield user, a fighter, or a DK, and not get punished. And that just kind of leaves Druid in this spot where you can definitely outplay people, especially in those early mid-tier lobbies. But in those late-game lobbies, your counterplay has kind of been removed. Cleanse was a big part of not instantly losing the Cryo matchup. And while I still think you can get on a Cryo, if a Cryo hits a Thunder Flask and his slow, that is 100% move speed reduction. And so, while your leap is not affected by that, the cooldown just hurts. It hurts, and you're such a squishy class that if you're not running the plus HP stacks on max stacks, you're gonna be having a tough time. So, I think Druid is still good though. I still put it at the top of A tier, and kind of like Rogue, it is able to choose its matchups. I would say the top tiers, Druid also does not have a good matchup to any of the top tiers. But being able to choose those matchups still with the with the wall hacks, the built-in wall hack passive, is still pretty good. I still think this is a class that can still have a successful time in this game if you are a diehard Druid fan. The next class I'm going to rank is SM. And currently, I still think this class needs to be tuned. I'll be putting out a video about that in a kind of later video, so check around, and we're going to be talking about all things SM, kind of what I think needs to be done to make this class not just better for people who are playing against SM, but better for people who are playing SM, because I don't think most people who have tried SM, I don't think any single person likes the fact that your inventory must be filled with swords. And the current drawbacks to that is that you get outrageous damage, but I don't think that's a healthy way to keep the class. But still, that said, you can't ignore what this class brings to the table. 50% damage reduction for 8 seconds, making you nearly invincible. You're not going to die with your E up. There's no way. SM can also abuse life on hit with dual swords. So 50% of that while you're healing is crazy. I think that's really good. Not only that, if people try to run from you, you can throw swords at them. I think this class has a lot going for it. It's just currently overshadowed by other classes that are just abusing life on hit a lot harder. That said, the next class we're going to rank is DK. And DK, honestly, S tier. The tooltip is busted right now, but during the Q effect, whether it's Soulstorm or the punch, you have a 25% damage reduction. I think that lasts as long as 8 seconds, which is kind of funny considering a Swordmaster gets that for 50% at 8 seconds as well. But if you're running Soulstorm, that's gonna last as long as you have souls. 25% damage reduction is nothing to laugh about on a 1300 HP class. You know, that's easily another 250 minimum HP added to your total. So that makes for quite a tanky class while doing that damage back. And to put all of those good tanky benefits to use, many people by now have discovered that life on hit also is triggered when the DK is using one of those auras. So every one of those ticks is triggering your life on hit, and if you start to get 15-20 life on hit, which is standard for those like mid-late game kind of lobbies, this becomes very, very crazy. Even at the base, what I would call an early game lobby, which is maybe full purple heirlooms, right? Because I think at this point, a lot of the people who are playing Die Hard have gotten those heirlooms up with those enchantments. You get 6 life on hit there. That is crazy for every tick while you're swinging dual swords. A big fact that people haven't noticed is that life on hit works regardless of whether people block the damage or you deal 0 damage. It's just a great class, I think, at the moment, and a class that can definitely catch and kill the top tier. I don't think there's a lot of negatives to this class. Its position as like that hook tank with its E just works really well. I still think that Soul Punch is not really worth taking. A lot of classes will just run away, but I think it is viable in specific scenarios. So, yeah, I think there's, for these top 2 tier classes, I think they're being hard carried by life on hit. And in DK's sense, the counterplay, as unfortunate as it is essentially do not let them get near you. And there are things other classes can do, like mobility classes can get away. You can petrify, you can blast them back, you can dash away, right? But the DK also has optionality that whether he uses grab or not, shock flasks, stone flasks to trap you in. And I think this class is going to be very toxic if life on hit is held how it is. I will also be kind of making a thoughts video on life on hit to kind of describe what I think should be done to fix it. So look for that in the future, probably coming out before the SM video. But that said, I've already moved it here, Cryo. I think this is the most broken class in the game, and I think a lot of people, specifically Cryo mains, might disagree with me. You know, Cryo was just nerfed, like, we got one less cast, you know, our stuff costs more energy now, we have less energy overall, but I would say resource is still not an issue for them. I have never seen a Cryo unable to cast their Q when they need to cast their Q, especially in solos. The passive, even though it got halved from 2 to 1, is still so good. And one of the biggest interactions that they kind of said in the last patch notes that they're looking at potentially reworking for this next patch is the fact that slows are currently additive. So a Cryo Q, if I'm not mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments, the Cryo Q slows for 1 second for 60% MS, right? A Thunder Flask, which just got reworked this patch, to slow for, I believe, 4 seconds at 50%. If those two are used in conjunction, that is 110% MS speed reduction. Since they are additive, that is a 110%. That means all your move speed, you actually have negative move speed. It'd be funny if it moved you backwards. But what ends up happening is you just don't get to move for a full second, if those two things are stacked. Considering the amount of life on hit Cryos have in that mid to late game set, this class is completely busted. I do not think that there is another class in a straight engagement, which is most engagements in this game. Most engagements that feel fun in this game are, I heard this person, they heard me, we're gonna fight now. There are other engagements, right, like Landmine that SM can pull off, Rogue Invis getting a one-up on you, that don't feel good, and I think in some of those scenarios, sometimes the Rogue and the SM can completely one-shot that class, right? And so, then you might be like, Cryo's not that strong because I get one-shot by Landmine, and I would really tell you, well, I don't think Landmine should be a part of this game. But that's another conversation for later, and something that I feel very passionately about, because I think that's one thing that can ruin this game when it's so melee focused, is not allowing the melee focus to shine. But that said, Cryo's curse is point and click. There's no skill involved with a ability that is spammable and gives so much benefit. Unlike DK, where the counterplay is run away, there is no counterplay against the Cryo. He gets vision on you because he can see the tick damage numbers and knows exactly which direction you're going, right? Life on hit, getting up to 15, 20 is ridiculous on this class. And yeah, no, I just think the amount of CC they carry on themselves in solos is just not healthy for this game. And I have already heard of many friends who have stopped to play this until Cryo got fixed. They came back when they saw the supposed Cryo nerfs and said, nope. Cryo is still top tier. If anything, life on hit has now spread to other classes that can abuse it with dual sword. This is not fun. These people are just W clicking me and hoping they can kill me. And it's just not fun. And honestly, I think the balance right now is really good. I think most classes should end up in A tier, right? but we currently have some outliers. But yeah, Life on Hit is kind of making these two classes shine more than they should. Player skill is not coming up as much as they should in the melee game, and hopefully the developers, they've been really good at doing this, at trying to make changes pretty quickly, but hopefully that becomes much more apparent with Cryo this next patch around. That said, this is pretty much where I think the classes lie. Balance isn't too bad. I think you could really play as any class and have decent results. I think that when you start jumping into more classics, just because of luck of the draw, or whether you play on prime time or not prime time hours, you're going to start to get these upper tier classes just roll like lobbies. And that's just what it is. If you're just, however, playing gear-based matchmaking in the casual mode, I think you're going to have a lot of fun playing any of these A-tier classes and above solo. That said, this has been PB. If you guys have any thoughts or concerns or disagree where I've put certain matchups, feel free to tell me. I'd love to hear from Cryo mains especially on why they think this class has any sort of counterplay that isn't an ambush style. I would love to hear that, because I don't think that there is much any class can do to this class if they run into a direct engagement. But cheers, guys. This will pretty much wrap out the video. Let me know if you guys want more style of these videos. I have a little bit more content coming out for you guys. I do this stuff for fun, so if there's anything you want to see and it sounds appealing to me, I'm sure that's something you're going to get to see pretty soon. Cheers. PB.